Guys.
Hey.
Hello.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood here in Vancouver. It's not raining for once, so I'm delighted by that.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Last week we had a little chat about a certain Wall Street Journal editorial.
You got up in arms there, Uncle Mark.
Well, I did a little bit. And for those who didn't listen last time,
rude.
Yeah, which is go fuck yourself. But for those who did but want to remember, we talked about an op-ed written by a woman named Erica Commissar, who is apparently a licensed therapist, who thinks that godless parents should lie to their children about the existence of God because it makes life easier. So,
because her sense was that the only options were you either tell them that there's a happy heaven that grandma's going to go to,
or worm food,
or you horrify them with the meaninglessness of me trying to say that word, or of life itself.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
There's no in between.
And there's no in between.
So we've brought in an expert of our own. We brought in a ringer.
I think what you do is you fight licensed clinical social worker with licensed clinical social worker.
That's right.
I think
and we have
she's
brought
a
our friend
psychoanalyst,
Paige.
actually. So
whatever
she
the
may
fuck he
outrank
is.
me. That's a possibility here. We may, in an even battle, she may win.
So you've heard the dulcet tones right there of our friend Paige. Paige, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's always good to be here with you, brilliant souls. It's fun.
Well, flattery will get you everywhere. So please continue.
Except that now you've definitely discredited your own.
Yeah, and that perception's not going to last long.
Yeah, sure, that's true. We'll destroy that very
I think what
quickly.
Paige is saying is that he's objectively pro for lying to children, which you just did to us. So
Yeah. I'm all for lying. No, I'm not.
All right, so Paige, we came down firmly on the side of not telling children that you believe in magical daddies in the sky, if in fact you don't believe that. But we wanted to bring you in because we wanted to know, like, maybe we're wrong. We are literally experts at nothing. So we thought maybe we'd bring you in and get you some actual expertise in the room.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to offer my own insights about it. I've been thinking about it ever since you approached me about this, and I have some very immature thoughts, which I think may be of value.
The best kind.
That was almost the name of the podcast. Immature thoughts.
Wait a minute. I'm going to start that podcast.
Patreon goal. We will spin off. It'll be Immature Thoughts with Paige and the uncles.
I've got to go get immaturethoughts.com right now.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, quick. Immature thoughts that may be of value, I think, it's a nice...
Well, we already
Excellent
purchased
name.
immaturethoughts.ru, so I think...
Excellent.
Yeah.
I like it.
So did you get a chance to read that excremental piece in the Wall Street Journal?
I did, and I mean, I'm fascinated by it. I mean, I think we all should be. We've been lying to children for years. We've been lying to ourselves for years. We've been lying to each other for years. And apparently it's being suggested as the high moral ground because of its value in keeping people from being anxious, whether they're children or adults.
Yeah.
I don't think I cottoned to such an argument. I mean, ultimately, this notion that you protect your children from despair by lying to them, maybe it's true.
Yeah.
Maybe that's true, but does that make it a good path?
Right.
I doubt that it's true, frankly, and when I read the article, I started looking at it and I'm thinking, these notions of what makes a person more functional, more mentally healthy. The criterion for that looked pretty spacious to me. I mean, that's pretty age of first sexual contact, I think that's relevant if your first sexual contact was with a priest, perhaps.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
But number of sexual partners as measures of mental health? Wow.
Yeah, that seems crazy.
That's actually insane, except in a particular value system, which tends to be a religious value system.
Right.
And it's open to question, and then it kind of falls apart from there.
And as we've talked about on this show a number of times, we uncles have all experienced more like trauma just from that notion that sexual partners are like evil. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Absolutely.
It seems crazy to me that now we're not only saying, yes, number of sexual partners is a good thing, or like fewer sexual partners is better than more sexual partners. But she's also even claiming that somehow if you have more, you're less mentally healthy than
this
if you
can
have
be
fewer.
either predictive or a measure of mental health. This whole thing is really fascinating to me, and I think if you follow the money, you may find out some of the biases that are inherent in the way that it goes. I always ascribe to that notion. You want to know what's going on, follow the money. So if you're interested in that, follow the money, see where it goes. However, there are much more interesting questions afoot here. This struck a nerve among us atheists. Mm-hmm. This notion of the ethics involved in lying to children. Well, how did we get so triggered? What was the hook there?
Yeah.
I mean, some person with a potential religious bias is suggesting that religion is better than critical thinking. How did we get so hooked by it? I think it's because there's something there.
Do you think it might be because somebody lied to us in the past, Paige? Is that what you're saying?
That's got to be
Are
part
we
of
blowing
it
the
too.
lid off this thing?
Wait a minute. I think I'm a little pissed off about the lies and the failure to do diligence about nonsense, okay?
Yeah.
However, religion does some things really well that we atheists, we skeptics, we non-believers may not be doing so well. I wonder if it doesn't kind of hook us a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, to me, there's something that AA and Mormonism has in combination. And, it's not just silly.
Belief
It's
in
the
spirits,
fellowship.
yes.
It's the fellowship. I'm sorry, but AA and the 12 steps, as useful as they are, they're kind of inane.
Right.
They're good. They're useful. But you know what makes AA work? Fellowship.
Yeah.
Is hanging out with other people with similar purposes, a shared direction that matters. Well, Mormonism offers that. Baptism offers that. Baptist, whatever that is. Catholicism, Buddhism, it all offers a ready-made peer group, connections, a mythology of purpose in living. Do we do that very well as atheists with each other?
Not usually.
I mean, what's the support group for us?
Well, that's a really good point. And a lot of people we've talked to in and out of the podcast who were religious, that's the number one thing they say they either miss about religion
Absolutely.
or that kept them in it longer than their belief system did.
Absolutely.
Is community, friends, family, and atheism isn't an ideology, so it's hard maybe to build
Absolutely.
around that.
We have a real challenge
We do.
because of that. I think it's inherent in skepticism because where's your support group?
Yeah.
But it exists. All we have to do is begin to pay attention to it. It's strange to me. I don't know why mythology is so much more interesting than reality.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of fascinating to me. Religion offers an afterlife at the expense of this life. Skepticism offers this life at the expense of an afterlife.
Right.
I'm all for this life.
Right.
One life at a time, please.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and also the life that we can prove for sure exists.
I'm pretty sure I exist.
Yeah.
I'm not absolutely sure because I'm pretty skeptical, and that's one of the things that we fall into,
Yeah.
right?
We'll edit that part out. Go ahead.
Yeah, no kidding. But
Yeah.
what about this life? I mean, of all people on this planet, we could potentially be rooted in the absolute majesty of this experience.
Yeah.
Science is extraordinary. It offers insight into the great mysteries of existence.
Yeah.
Why do we have to believe in many gods or one God to affiliate?
Yeah.
I mean, what are the possible narratives that we can be involved in that could be really, really intriguing? And I think that's a place for people who are disbelievers, people who are non-believers, people who are skeptics, empirically minded, scientifically, whatever. How do we begin to construct this in a way that is better and offers more than religion does? Because it has a huge downside.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? I don't know about you, but I'm freaking fascinated by the fact that my prefrontal lobe shares with gorillas, orangutans, and chimpanzees some things that I don't share with baboons, which is the ability to map other minds. Baboons don't know that their fellow creatures have minds. No, chimpanzees do, and that's where lying comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Once you know your fellow creatures have minds, you can manipulate them. You can fake them out for fun and profit. And chimpanzees do this brilliantly. They fuck
See,
with each other
I'm so
constantly.
sick of getting fucked with by chimpanzees. Thank you for bringing that up.
You
because
gotta
they are,
leave the zoo, man.
dude, they are constantly just getting the better of me.
Really?
I need better
There's a lot of
friends.
chimps that have been getting the better of us for a long time. But to me, this is interesting because I share that. My prefrontal lobe hangs out with other humans. It maps their mind. And through some weird, explainable, scientifically observable processes, forms a model in my mind of how my shared fellow beings' minds work. And I share that with orangutans, gorillas, and chimpanzees, but not baboons because they lack the prefrontal structures necessary for this bit of alchemy. They don't know their partners have minds. They cannot be manipulated, and they do not experience the richness of that process.
Yeah, suck it, baboons.
I've never liked baboons.
Well, I tell you, they would make lousy priests because they can't really lie.
Red-ass motherfuckers.
Okay, now that's important, all right? Because once you know that your fellow creatures have minds, you get to manipulate them. You can posit false ideas for them to go in for. But I got to tell you, this prefrontal lobe, when you begin to study neuroscience and you begin to understand these kind of things, you are struck by the majesty of your own brain and also the limitations of it. Yeah. But also you begin to be connected to other creatures. Do you know that killer whales may have more capacity for emotion than human beings because more of their brain is devoted to it?
Interesting.
They probably hate the name then, don't you think?
You know, they might object. They might be lover whales from their perspective. It's all
you
perspective.
kill one whale and for the rest of your fucking life, you know.
I know, but this connects us to nature, right? Who can teach the majesty of nature better than science?
Yeah.
Without the mythology and the bullshit that misleads us and posits that, you know, somehow we're above all things.
Yeah.
We may not be.
Yeah.
I think that science, I think that this possibility of skepticism has this opening into creating something greater than mystery, the ineffable and so forth. I mean, when you begin to understand the world, you're transfixed by it. We are a part of our fellow creatures. Now, that might lead you to becoming a vegan. It might lead you to just exploring the kind of majesty of biology. But what about biology? What about physics? What about astronomy? It was a way of teaching our children how we're connected to all things. I mean, for God's sakes, we're stardust.
Yeah.
We're the elemental parts of the universe. I'm sorry, that's way better than, you know, God created the world in a ludicrous 7 days.
It's so much better than a talking snake. It is.
I know. I dig talking snakes. Don't get me wrong.
I love talking snakes, but they don't exist. But you know, when I see Christians online going, "Well, you trying to say I'm related to a monkey?" I'm like, "Yes, you
That's
are.
amazing.
You're related to a
Correct.
cabbage and a potato, and it's fucking awesome. And that is the most beautiful thing I can imagine about life. Is that it all connects, right?"
I don't think our audience is religious fundamentalists.
No.
I think our audience is each other.
Yeah.
And why aren't we a beacon to everything else? And I think eventually we are. I don't believe that most people are, when offered the option to find Dan's house, are going to pray for directions. I think they're going to use Siri.
Yeah.
I did that on the way over here. She led me here through some good, orderly directions that did not rely on a connection to a supposed God. Now, I think evangelists use their cell phone to find their way.
Yeah.
And that's based on science, not on magic. Now, I think that's a nice metaphor.
Wait, you're saying that Siri isn't magic?
I think she may be God.
I think
She's certainly closer to a god than anything I've ever
She's a
experienced.
demon.
Julia Cameron, you know, she uses the acronym God as good, orderly direction. Siri gave me good, orderly directions, and she's based entirely on science.
Yeah.
Well, as we, you know, our kind of stated goal in this podcast is to kind of do battle with religion. So
We
to
have
speak.
goals?
What? Don't you check the message board?
I don't know how to
It's
read.
on the whiteboard, Dan. Would you please just look
I
at it
didn't
once
get
in
the
a
list
while?
of goals.
Lose 10 pounds has been at the top of the list for a long time.
How's that working out?
Even collectively, we haven't been able to manage it.
No,
We
no.
might want to join forces.
Yeah, you brought the average down a little bit for us all. But religion is waging war with science in our schools, right? That's why they're trying to teach teach creationism and stop teaching evolution, et cetera, because these truths have more power than the lies. And I think, you know, that to me kind of gives even more egregiousness to this article of, like we were talking about before we started recording, the kids are going to find out the truth eventually.
Yes.
They're going to know.
And in the studies, we're finding out that there's fewer and fewer religious people every decade.
Yeah.
in this country. Elsewhere, they're way ahead of us.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so I guess part of the question...
So your point's really important, though. Do you want to wage a battle with fundamentalists? Okay, if you feel called to that. I'm really intrigued about the possibility of creating networks of influence that are rooted in this skeptical, non-divine belief process. How do we affiliate with each other? How do we offer fellowship to each other? How do we begin to really develop for our children in these conversations about this life a sense of connection, unity, and purpose, ethical set of values to guide our behavior that's greater than a man in the sky told us to.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, that's an interesting conversation to have. And I'm not interested in talking to fundamentalists of any stripe now unless they want to begin the conversation. What I am interested in is besting them. I want to fucking outdo religion by creating a sense of unity and purpose among human beings. I think we have a shared purpose, but go beyond that. You know, animals, we're parts of those folks. We share most of the DNA. It's very little that separates us. What separates us is really important. Can we fucking use it?
Right.
And we don't do that in opposition. We don't do it in contests with fundamentalist thinkers. They're too rigid. But little by little, we're winning the battle. Don't forget that every decade, there are fewer and fewer religious people in this country. They're losing, they're scared, and they're taunting us. Let's best them.
Paige, you'll be delighted to know that I get emails from kids that listen to our show in seminary class. So
How awesome.
yeah, so
I mean, listen,
we're
look at that
infiltrating.
insurrection, right?
Yeah, we're infiltrating for
Yeah,
sure.
That's what's happening. So let's not get too freaked out when we're baited by this stuff.
So my question then is, it seems to me that one big overarching question that we need to answer in answer to Commissar's tripe in the journal is, what do you suggest we do say to a child who's lost a grandparent, to a child who's experiencing death for the first time and wants to know what the hell's going on?
Well, I think it's a lousy time to begin the conversation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, what a stupid time to start that conversation. We're in a crisis right there. Now, crises are great for reorganization because they dismantle things, they upset things, we become open to possibilities. However, why does that conversation start with the death of a family member?
Okay.
Why doesn't it begin with conversations about the nature of reality? Yeah, we're born. What do you think about that? Yeah, we're going to die too. Okay. What do you think about that? You'd be surprised with the sensibility of children's brains. Why are we disrespecting these creatures so much that we think they can handle the truth? They often present it to us when we're open to it. You know what? They don't need religion. There's no gene that sets you up to believe in religion. It wants a sense of purpose, a sense of community, a sense of affiliation, a way to feel effective and creative. So what if we have the conversation from the beginning as, we are creation. Creation flows through us. I mean, sorry, we're fucking stars, sweetheart. We're the elements of stars. We're connected to every molecule and atom in the known universe. It flows through us, and we live in creativity and in creation. We feed it forward, and we will die. And somehow it continues. But we're in a really indispensable moment in this possibility. It is our unique expression of creation.
I was at the Getty Museum in L.A. I think, Mark, you were there. And we were waiting for it to open. There was a little crowd, maybe 20 people. And a bird hit the glass window and dropped dead on the patio right there. And there was a child, 6, maybe 7 years old, right nearby, and walked over and was looking at this dead bird. And his dad walked over and knelt down and said, and explained death to him.
There it is.
Laid it out for him. That bird is no longer alive.
Yes.
And it's all that's left is its body.
Yeah, 1 minute we're flying.
Yeah.
And another minute, we don't know.
Right.
But that bird is no longer here. And what does that mean to you? I'm telling you, children put together things in ways that we're not open to. Those conversations can be had when birds hit windows, and that happens all the time. It happened 3 times in my daughter's neighborhood this week. Okay. What is that? There's your opening, not when, grandpa perishes. We're all in reorganization and chaos at that moment.
Right.
We should be having conversations that are truthful, that are reality-based, that show respect for children's ability to live in the world. And you know what? Existential angst is part of living for the religious and the non-religious. The bullshit in this article is that religious people don't experience existential despair or anxiety.
Right.
In addition, they also experience the fear of retribution.
Right.
I don't
terror.
have that.
Yeah.
I do not have that anymore because
Right.
I realize there's no man in the sky who's going to judge me or save me. Nobody needs to be saved. Can we just teach this from the beginning? There's no more despair in reality than there is in this fucking fiction of religion.
Yeah.
There's no more existential angst. Okay, so can we have the honest conversations when the bird hits the window? That prepares us for the moment when grandma's perishing, okay? And we don't pass on.
Right.
We die.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Paige, about just kind of the general ethics of children and fiction. I heard, maybe you've heard this. George Takei tells this amazing story about, when he and his family were taken into, our horrible internment camps, the Japanese internment camps during World War II, that his parents explained it to them as vacation. And they said those guys standing at the ends of the train, they're there to make sure we get to our destination safely. The guys with the guns at the end of the train, they're making sure we're safe and we go to this fun summer camp. And there was something really beautiful about them wanting to protect him and his brother from the terror that they were experiencing. And of course, he did find out the truth, obviously.
Who told?
I wonder, the accommodations were not what Airbnb promised they were, apparently. But I just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
I'm not saying that there aren't reassuring fictions. I love fiction. I go to the movies.
Yeah.
Sometimes I suspend reality. I play with magic, okay? Concepts that allow me to be more creative. But I know it's bullshit. But I'm open to the possibility that it's not. Like, I like creativity. As an artist, I invite it into my life. I believe somehow in muses. It's just that they're real people, not archangels. Okay, there are comfortable fictions, absolutely. You can offer them to your children if you want. They might be reassured by that. I don't find it as good as the absolute amazing reality that we live in. And part of that is, we're here for a little while. Value your life. Creativity flows through you. It is the promise that is held in every cell of your body to offer your creativity back to the world as repayment for your very creation. And when you perish and you end, your opportunity may well be over. Use your life well. And how do we do that? I mean, religion does some things well. It offers a tribe.
Yeah.
It's a bullshit tribe in some ways, but it's a very real one in another. Well, what are we offering? What are we offering as skeptics? Where's our affiliation? What are the opportunities? I think parents, the best thing you can do is offer your children the opportunity for fellowship. It doesn't have to be a church. I'm sorry, but a soccer team can be a bigger fellowship and tribe than a church.
You could become a patron of a podcast, for example.
Absolutely. Subscribe now. Yeah, but I played in a rock and roll band from 12 on. It was more of a religion to me than my Mormonism in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The creative process was flowing through us. We got to the point where we knew where each other were going. We could intuit it. We were a tribe, and we fought each other's fights. We were a fellowship. It gave me a sense of purpose and identity. It doesn't matter what it is. What are you offering your children that offers that need for fellowship, affiliation, connectivity, a tribe? And then what do you offer them in terms of purpose? What are you suggesting is your purpose? What are you open to as their purpose? Can you be watching in the wings, and when they show some interest, you do what Jim Carrey says, your job then as a parent is to kick the door open to whatever they were interested in? Pretty good parenting advice. Open the door to purpose and creativity when you see your kids show an interest. But can you lead them to a sense of purpose? Can you provide some open door to connection, affiliation? That's the only thing that religion really does well, in my estimation, is it provides you a ready-made tribe. A fiction and a narrative that allows you a sense of purpose. I think we can do way better than that as non-believers. But what are we doing? Are we doing that well? I think we're kind of putzing around. So I think it behooves us all to start to look at how can we do this better? How can we lead children into reality with a sense of purpose and a sense of affiliation? When we're doing that well, we've got a leg up on believers. There's no bullshit. There's no lies. We're offering the best we have in good faith, facing the doubt and fear of mortal existence. This is a risky business, this life. Let's quit pretending that Jesus is on the other side. He's going to welcome us. We don't know that. Can we enter into this with faith and skepticism? I mean, who's going to do that better than us?
Well, everybody look for Paige's new series of affiliations that you can sign up for.
Sure. We'll be starting the
soon.
Cathedral of Disbelief soon.
There you go.
Yeah. And parents, remember to
synagogues and temples everywhere.
stand around outside glass windows and wait for birds to hit them. That seems to be the best advice we can give you.
Everything is grist for the mill.
Yeah. Just wait for death to occur and you're golden. So
It's going to happen any minute.
it's going to happen
Be
anyway.
conscious, be aware.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Paige, thank you so much for joining us and for giving insight better than the three of us can manage ourselves.
Well, I don't know. I think you guys do it brilliantly all the time. In fact, I think we're all doing it in varying degrees and in varying ways as we live our lives. Let's just offer the best we have to each other, collaborate with each other instead of colluding with bullshit.
Agreed.
Can't get better than that.
Going on the T-shirts.
Exactly.
It's hard to get a graphic for that, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Paige,
All
thanks
right,
so much
Paige.
for joining us.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Paige.
thank you.
That's a pleasure.
Moving on.